Randy Edmonds, a tireless organizer, activist, community, oh my gosh, what did I say? Community healer and spiritual leader. And his nomination was so beautiful. It was put together by the entire wellness team at San Diego American Indian Health Center. So Mr. Randy Edmonds, 87, Kiowa Caddo Tribal Nations, has been a true inspiration to all Native Americans across Indian country. He founded the Indian Human Resource Center in San Diego, California, for urban Native Americans who left the reservation to develop self-sufficiency and determination among the Native community. And throughout his career, he served on many advisory boards representing American Indians from city to federal levels. His ambition has always been to help those close to him stay connected to their indigenous roots. Mr. Edmonds is also a world-renowned powwow MC across Turtle Island, America, US. He also did the narration for the movie Crow the Legend, and he won an Emmy in 2019, and I will drop a link to that so you can actually see it and hear his wonderful voice. Mr. Edmonds is our elder whom we hold in the highest esteem for all the work he has done in Indian country, and has a significant influence on our community and youth by spreading his good medicine through storytelling with our youth and teaching them about our history, in which they do not teach the truth in schools. And that is true. Spot on. Mr. Edmonds continues to bring healing to all Indigenous communities across Indian country by encouraging, motivating, and uplifting our youth, families, and elders. We honor you, Randy, and we are grateful for the legacy you have started for all Indian people. This was all so beautifully said. There's not really much more that I could say that would make it better. So I will drop links so that you can read more about him, because he's so accomplished. So please join me in congratulating Randy Edmonds. Yay! All right, absolutely. So Randy, so I'd like to pass it to you. What has inspired or pushed or compelled you to do the work you do?
You know, as a youngster, I was put into a boarding school, Bureau of Indian Affairs boarding school, to learn vocational training and also learn about the history of this country. And the history of this country has always been about the white people. Our presidents were all white, the generals were all white. Everyone that had anything to do with the development of our country were white. And as I grew older, I began to realize that the reason I was in the boarding school was to become white. They wouldn't let us talk our language. They wouldn't let us sing our songs. They wouldn't let us do our traditions of any kind. So we had to basically learn the ways of the white people. And that was the whole intent of the BIA and its endorsement of making Indians into white people. And the one thing that bothered me the most when I was in boarding school was, even though I was a Native American and spoke pretty good English, my teachers always told me I wouldn't amount to anything. And that always stayed with me. And as I grew older, I wanted to prove to those teachers that I could do things, that I could be something. And as I relocated from my hometown to the urban area of Los Angeles, we were sent there to also be assimilated into the mainstream of society. So there's every effort of the Congress of the United States to clear out the reservations and give the reservations to the white people. And we know that, you know, because they tried real hard to do that, but it didn't work. And as I lived in the urban area through that experience, that when they sent us out there, they didn't send us anything to help us with, any kind of resources. And we had no health systems available to us. Economically, we were poor. We had no cultural awareness, any business development kinds of programs. So what we had to do as Native Americans is to come up with ways to get those into the urban areas in which we came. We worked with health, education, and welfare to develop the first clinics that was established in 1965 for health services for Native Americans in Los Angeles County. We got the health, education, and welfare to also help us establish Indian Centers Incorporated, where we had to work with the local programs in town to get benefits for Native Americans so that they would have the resources available to them so they could make that transition from urban life, from reservation life to urban life. And so we worked real hard in putting all those kinds of programs together. We faced a lot of racism, of course. When we wanted to ask for something, they said, well, you know, you're Indian. You go back to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They're supposed to take care of you. But the Bureau had already released us from their programs. So we had to come up with some ways to develop resources for Native Americans that lived in the urban areas to have those resources. Today, we have clinics, we have Indian centers, we have business development programs, we have cultural programs, we have Native American student alliances and colleges that we have also started in Fullerton, California, way back in the late 60s. And so those of us that were a part of that development was called by my good friend Peter McDonald, who was a part of that. He was a national, he was the chairman of the Navajo Nation, and he considered us the pioneers of development of the urban experience for Indians that live in the urban area. So what I'm saying is that when I was told in boarding school that you will not amount to anything, this is what I'm trying to prove. And I think I've done a pretty good job doing it.
Randy, a source of strength for you and advice you have for younger change makers.
You know, first of all, I'd like to thank the Creator, the Great Spirit, for allowing me to have another year. I turned 88 this year, and I'm very grateful that He has allowed me to continue to be a part of our world, our communities, wherever we're at. And without Him, it will be pretty hard to operate. So we thank Him for that. As far as strength, I see how the Native American has been pushed out of the sight of this society. We're not seen so much as we used to be. We're kind of in history books, but the history books are written by white people and don't tell the true history of who we are as a people. We're a very proud people. We have great strength in our culture, our traditions, our prayers, our dances, our songs, and we want to continue that. And so that gives me strength to be able to continue on as an individual in my community that helps develop the need for recognition by this society that we're still here. We haven't gone anywhere. And we continue to be here when everybody else is gone. We thank the Great Spirit for all of these things that He's given us. I pray every night for everyone in the world, not just the communities in which I live, but the whole world, especially Ukraine. And it's sad that people can treat each other in the way that they do. But strength is something beautiful that you can have. And you got the Creator behind you. You can do a lot of things with good medicine. As far as our youth, get an education. Make sure you get an education. And take that education with you and do good things. Get into positions that will allow you to make change in your community. With that kind of power, you can make change. I sat on the Human Relations Commission for 10 years with the city of San Diego. And I was able to continue talking with the other members about Native Americans and what our culture is about, what our traditions about. And they began to understand. I even presented to them about 15 different tribal members to come before them, because they always thought that one Indian looked like all Indians. And I was able to make changes in the human relations vision of who we were as a part of our community here in San Diego. So youth, get aboard the education train and take it to where it will help your community and whatever it needs. We want to thank the nominators for nominating me too as well. I hope.